Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Nomad, The Beginning. So, it being called Nomad, The Beginning, I'm guessing this is meant to be the start of a kind of series of films, or perhaps even a kind of TV or web series or something along the lines of that. However, let's talk about this film. So this is a low-budget film, and I always kind of try and prefix when I'm reviewing low-budget films to kind of maybe sort of manage expectations somewhat. So, the plot of this film is a bit of a confusing mess, I've got to be honest with you. That's just one of my first criticism, and probably the major criticism of this film, is it really doesn't make a lot of sense at all. So, from what I gather, basically the plot involves a guy who sort of wakes up with amnesia, and a woman who is told to deliver a package, who ends up being this guy, because some sort of shadowy organisation has sort of kidnapped her brother, and sort of deliver the package to a certain point. And you've also got these some kind of hitman after them who works for some kind of agency, and he's sort of looks like he's kind of like a sleeper agent almost, where he's sort of activated where using something like a password and whatnot. And as it turns out, where there's actually something to do with aliens involved, and we have kind of psychic assassins, and basically the aliens are kind of have given sort of certain Earthlings kind of like psychic abilities, and we kind of got this aging guy, which I thought he'd shrunk down in some kind of station somewhere, almost sort of giving orders to this sort of operative. It's kind of a real mess, and the basically is kind of like this couple, this guy hasn't got any memory, who's either called John or Chris, depending on who you ask, and this kind of woman who's trying to sort of find her brother, ultimately sort of trying to get answers throughout the film, and basically just being chased by this guy. And we find out answers are sort of given throughout the film, but there's a problem with that, so I'll come on to it in just a second. And yeah, we kind of find out ultimately there's been some kind of alien contact, and these sort of special psychic powers that have been derived from some sort of deal that this shadowy organisation has sort of struck between the aliens and whatnot. But the problem is with this film is that it starts at the first half of this film is just really confusing. You just don't know what the hell's going on, and it doesn't have the chops to really keep that interested to find out. And then there are a few, although not all answers are sort of given throughout the film. As you sort of get on to the sort of second half of this movie, you'll start to maybe get some of the answers that have come through. But at that point, you're just kind of bored, because you just don't know what you're watching. And I get the impression that the filmmakers here thought, oh yeah, they've got this kind of idea about what this movie is meant to be, and everyone involved in this film has kind of understood what this story is about. But you watching it as a viewer don't really know what it's about. It's because you just think, what the hell's going on? And you kind of give it sort of 15 and 20 minutes. And I'm sorry, but in this day and age, kind of people's attention spans do not last all that long. If they have no idea about what this film is, it hasn't got kind of the big stars or big budget and effects and things to sort of keep you going, even if there is stuff that gets revealed later on, you know, you're just going to get bored in these B-movie films. So I think you kind of have to sort of set out your kind of what you're actually trying to do a little bit earlier in these movies. And I have to say, it was kind of a bit of a, oh God, I kind of got to sit through it so I kind of understand it, so I can alternately review it. And obviously once you do get the answers, then you think, yes, okay, now I can understand it. But I think the first part of this film will just put a lot of people off. And even then, as I said, it doesn't actually explain everything. I still don't really know what this sort of Asian guy in some kind of dark room was doing, really. And there's a few bits and pieces like that. Now, in regards to the actual sort of aliens and sci-fi bits, like I said, don't be kind of fooled by the cover. There's very, very little of this. We have kind of an alien sort of in a kind of Star Trek style makeup sort of turn up in the last sort of 10 minutes of the film in literally one scene to exchange a piece of dialogue, and there's kind of a dream sequence where there's like another alien race sort of communicating with I guess the main protagonist, who is either called John or Chris. But there's not much of that in there. And it says you've got Michael Madsen in this movie, and don't be fooled of that. He's probably in about 90 seconds worth of this movie in 2 scenes. So what can I say that's good about this film? God, do you know what? It's really difficult to kind of sort of say any positives about this film, because I don't think it's a particularly well-made film at all. I guess there's a germ of a good idea here, I have to say, but it's just very, very poorly executed. The acting is horrible. The camera work is terrible. It's constantly sort of moving around and sort of shaking, even if there's not an action scene. The music is just kind of flat and dull. There really isn't much to go on in this movie. I guess the people who made this film, the writer director, had this sort of idea, this kind of sprawling story, but it's just very, very poorly executed, unfortunately. And I think it just needed to have a bit more work done on it with people who haven't, who I guess in this film didn't really have any sort of test audiences. It's what I can only think of, because otherwise things would have been put up on. People who made this film obviously kind of had an idea about what was going on, but if you're watching it cold, you simply will get turned off by it. So I'm going to have to give this movie a 2 out of 10. What did you think about it? Leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.